My name is Herman and I work here. I'm a specialist in the electronic warfare museum within the big museum here. My background is that I started work here in 1963 as an engineer in one of the buildings here. So I've been around for quite a while. This is electronic warfare area that we have here now, and the stuff that we have here goes from World War II all the way up to today, and we'll talk about some of the World War II stuff, quickie, and then we'll talk about some stuff that's used out in the field today that is helping also in the war effort today. So we'll start with the World War II. These equipments are here. They are airborne electronic warfare equipment, receivers, transmitters, and jammers. So they're airborne, which means that they were developed to go in airplanes, and so they flew in World War II. The primary, since they were on airplanes, the Army didn't have airplanes, so we got them from the Air Force.
Is it these things here?
These things here.
Yeah, it's hard to
Okay,
see.
yeah, that's B-17 and B-24. So they were, in the day, they were called the heavy bombers, not compared to today, but they were heavy bombers back in the day. We got some of those airplanes and we turned them into electronic warfare airplanes. And we rack mounted these guys into racks. We took the bomb stuff out and put these electronic warfare equipments in the airplane.
So that's what all that is?
That's what all of this is, yeah. And here's a rack mount, if I could see it. These things get rack mounted. And so when they went in the airplanes, they also had operators that went with them. So there were several of them.
Everything on the table, is that all?
This is all, yeah, all of this.
Okay, so I'll go so everybody can see what all that stuff looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll leave the World War II stuff behind, and let's get to some of the stuff that we use in the Army uses in the field today in electronic warfare. And this is a jammer. This is an infrared jammer.
We'll get real close to it.
Okay.
That's cool. So they still use this in the field
They still use this in the field today. What does it do? It's used to protect Army helicopters or DOD helicopters, because it's not just Army, and it protects them from shoulder-fired weapons. This is a Russian SA-7 missile or shoulder launch missile weapon. Okay, and this is a U.S. Stinger.
It protects against that too.
Yeah, but hopefully we're not shooting at our own selves.
That's not why I asked.
Yeah, okay. Now, quickie here, this is the Marine One. And I was watching television when President Trump came from the hospital, and as it was landing on the White House lawn, I said, oh, there's our jammer. This is this guy.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, I see that.
Yeah. So
All the way at the bottom,
right at the bottom there, yeah.
Very cool.
Very effective. Now, the way this thing works, real quick, is that this thing gets hotter than the exhaust from the engine on the helicopter. Mm-hmm. And so this thing attracts, or the targeting device looks for the hottest spot on the helicopter to target. Mm-hmm. And it sees both, but it picks the hottest one. This thing has a point source that's hotter than the exhaust from the engine, and so it targets that device, this device, and this device knows it's being targeted, and so it needs to lock on before it can fire, before the missile comes out. This guy shuts down, so it flips off us for a minute time. And it loses the lock. So it's aiming. I got him. I'm going to pull the trigger and shoot the missile, but then the heat goes away.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay, so now it loses lock. It's got to require again, And by the time it reacquires, generally the helicopter's out of range, or even if it locks up again on it, this thing will shut off again momentarily, lose its lock again. So it it does a good job of protecting the
Oh,
helicopter.
that's awesome. I didn't know how they work.
Yeah.
So I'm also assuming on the helicopter itself, there's some early warning that will tell it that it's being targeted, correct?
No, it doesn't need to do that. It's just flying along. It does its thing. And
So the helicopter won't know if
No,
they're being
it
locked
wouldn't.
onto?
No, it doesn't. And maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Yeah. But he can't do anything. So he doesn't really want to know either, because if you're being locked on by a missile system, if you know it, now you're hoping that you get away, but you may not. So, but this thing sees. So when the targeting device, it's infrared targeting device, when it sees the point source, the heat source here, this thing knows it. It recognizes it's being illuminated by a targeting device, and that's when it shuts off. Okay, and then so the targeting device, before these things can fire the missile, they need to lock on. So they don't want to be arbitrarily firing, losing, and getting rid of missiles. So it has to lock on. Once it's locked on, this thing says, "Hey, I only got a small amount of time." It shuts it off, shuts down. And so the guy loses track again. He loses the signal, the target, and when he goes back after it again, the target is generally out of range.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
So since they don't have any early warning system to know they're being targeted, you're hoping to God that thing's working.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The other thing is they do have some devices on there for other things that get targeted.
They got what's it called, chaff?
Flare and shaft. Flare is I guess the shaft is the stuff that gets. The flare is the heat.
Okay.
Okay, so it's.
But I'm assuming the helicopter has that too.
Yeah. If now, see, the problem with those is they're not stopping missiles. The flaring, because these missiles. Well, maybe they might help some, but I doubt it. They're fairly short range. Probably not good for using those devices trying to dodge a missile that's coming after you, or the flare may divert it. Sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what's that?
Okay. This guy is a jammer. This is a this is a jammer, and it goes with all of the ground forces. So the guys in the rear area where your troops are together, they all have this kind of a jammer, and also on the convoy. So when the ground troops are out on convoys, many of the vehicles will have this jammer all with it. And what it does, it protects the ground forces from incoming missiles, rocket, excuse me, from incoming missiles and mortar shells that they have sensors in the nose. They're miniature radar sets. And so what they're doing is that they detect, and when you say miniature radar sets, what they're doing is they're watching the ground, and when the missile is coming in and starts down, it will get the missile down near the ground before it goes off, because it does the most damage down near the ground. Now these are enemy missiles coming in. So yeah,
just so you can see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so artillery shells, rockets, and things, so what this guy does, it intercepts that signal, the radar signal, and says, I got it incoming. What we're going to do is we'll tell them that they're down near the ground, but they're really up in the atmosphere, and so we'll blow them prematurely.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so once it gets the radar signal, it decides where it wants to blow them, but they're sitting up in the atmosphere, and so they don't do any harm up there. They just blow and okay, yeah. Now the same guys that did this, that developed this set, developed the. You remember when we had the IED problem?
Yes. My brother actually served in it.
Oh,
he was in Baghdad.
Oh, I've been there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you in the military at the time?
Yeah. I'm a retired reservist.
Oh, okay.
So but also I was a Army engineer to develop some of this stuff, and
Oh,
so
okay.
some of the times over there I was taking equipment over as a civilian,
Yeah.
a reservist, but
So you have a security clearance and everything, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Can't divulge anything.
I might have to shoot you. Okay. Okay. So the guys that developed this said, "Hey, we can stop your IED problem." I said, whoa, you can? He said, "Yeah." He says, "We can modify."
They use the cell phones, right?
Well, they were using cell. Then they went to, and I'll show you real quickie. They went from cell phones to key fobs, the little garage door openers, card.
Really?
Yeah,
Jeez.
really neat. So they said we can modify this guy to
And jam that?
and jam him. Yeah.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. So, oh, let me just throw this guy out. So, ooh,
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, listen.
yeah. Okay. This is one we created. This is an IED, and I think it's a 105 howitzer round, but it is rigged to go off. And what the bad guys were using, the cell phones are kind of wacky. I mean, you can use them, but it takes a lot more skill in knowing what you're doing. But what they found was something real easy. I'd say a key fob, just like your car or your garage door opener. And what you do is you just press the button and boom. Okay.
Oh, I see that. That was cool.
Yeah. So these guys were planning these things along the route, and as the convoy is going along, they know where they planted them. As the convoy is going along, they're standing back, make sure they don't blow themselves up. And when it gets near or gets over the thing, it just boom. So what these guys did said, hey, we know what the technical characteristics of the key fobs are. And so what we can do is we'll set our device up. When we see the signal from the key fob, we'll turn the jammer on and shut it down.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand how it works.
Yeah. Because what happens is that when you, like with your car door, almost saying, oh, your garage, it seems like it's instantaneous when you press the button.
So how does the jammer actually, does it muffle the signal?
What it
actually does?
Yeah, what it does is that the jammer itself puts out a signal that don't know if I know exactly how it does it, so I won't give you bad information. But it actually jams the front end. This is a little receiver, so what it does is that when you do this thing, in order for this thing to activate, there's a finite a few milliseconds of time that it takes before you don't recognize it because the brain doesn't operate, the person doesn't operate that fast, but the electronics do. And so what it does is when you do that, it's fast enough to stop it from sending a signal, sending a signal to it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So
Now I understand how it works.
yeah. Okay. So we had 200 of those things in the warehouse. They modified them real fast, got them out in the field, and we replaced the ones that were there with the modified ones.
So once they modify it, can it still jam what it previously
Oh
was?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This just happens to be incidental along.
So it's kind of like programmed. They're just adding additional functions.
They span the frequency coverage. Turns out that the key fobs were at a higher frequency than the incoming radar signals.
So okay, so I guess the communication frequency is on a different.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't interfere with that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's good. This is a man-portable intercept and direction finding system, and this goes with the ground troops.
Oh, so it's backpacked.
Yeah, back. There we go. Here's one on front of a magazine. Let's see if that might help.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. So this guy's about 2 years old.
Is that heavy?
50 pounds, 60 pounds, depending on now. Yeah. Well, no. What happens is the GIs are smart, and so they have trucks and vehicles with them. So this guy will most of the time just hang it on on the side or back of a truck or a vehicle. So he's not carrying it. And if he can't get to where he needs to be or what have you, he can carry it, but they don't carry it all the time. Just when, yeah. And so what it does is it intercepts the ground radios. Now you say, how does it know? Well, these are short range things, so it doesn't have to look very far. But what it wants to do is know who's out there and who's communicating and planning things.
Yeah.
And so he's listening. When you in a unit will have 3 or 4 of these things hooked together, networked together. So they're really able to communicate with each other. And the reason you want to do that is so when you're listening, if you see something, hear something that you want to locate, then you press the button locate, and these guys will talk to each other, and they'll send lines of bearing to the target. And using triangulation and geometry to figure out where the bad guy is, and you send somebody to take him out.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
I'm assuming that one next behind you is the same.
Which, this one?
Yeah.
This is the old daddy. This guy's about, he's about 20 years old.
Wow, 20 years old.
Same principle and just better technology in this one.
Yeah.
And the other thing with this one has a jammer on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And the antennas are bigger too.
Yeah. Well, the antennas are due to the frequencies they're trying to locate. Yeah. But yeah, this jammer, this is not for jamming communication. This jammer is for, I don't see, we don't have one, is for protecting it against the bad guys using these little UAVs or little RPVs.
Okay.
The bad guys got smart and they said, oh, these cheap little things, but they're smart now. They got nice cameras on them, and we can put explosives on them.
Yeah, I'm watching a lot of videos in Ukraine.
Yeah.
That has just really changed warfare.
It does, yeah. So now one of the things, though, is that the companies that make these things, if you make these RPVs, the sophisticated ones that we're using, then the control link on it, if you lose that, they require that you put a homing device on it. So it's capable, or home on itself. So if you lose the link to controlling it, and you're watching it, then the vehicle goes back to where it was launched from. Mm-hmm. So okay. So now you put explosives on. You got your camera on it, and they were sending it over, and they were blowing up our guys.
Oh, okay.
So we put the jammer on. The jammer is looking for the control links. So now, if you send it over, the jammer sees the control links, jams the control links. The air vehicle now turns around and goes back to you with the explosive on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped doing that right away.
Yeah, I don't
It's
blame
not, because you're blowing up, and it's smart enough now. I'm sure that once they lost the link, I'm sure they didn't stay wherever they were when they launched it. That's probably where it's coming back. They're going back to wherever these signals originated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, so this has been out about 2 years. They're still fielding some of them, but good device. We have them. We've given to some of our NATO partners.
Okay.
Yeah. My tenure in the Army as a civilian and military was with the guardrail system. This top system is an airborne. The Army had lots of airborne electronic warfare platforms. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the top one here is the guardrail system. I started working on the guardrail system back in 1973 and worked on it for almost 50 years. So it's.
Did you help design it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Well, the initial guardrail was designed by NSA. So I can tell you that. Okay. So back here, the initial one was, the first two were designed by Fort Meade, by NSA. Army operated and maintained them. And so what we did here, and this is where I came into the picture, is that the Guardrail 5, the third one in, is the first one that the Army designed, built itself, with the whole logistics package and the whole 9 yards. So I started working on it then. I was a project engineer on this, our Guardrail 5, this one, and started on this one, but primarily the Guardrail 5 fully. And I left the Army and went to industry in 1984, so that's when this one was being developed.
I was born in '83.
Sorry, but youngster.
Yeah, I'm a young one.
So yeah,
It's not as young as I used to
so I stayed with the Guardrail program pretty much all my career. I was initially on the Army side, and then when I went to industry, I was went to Northrop Grumman, and Northrop Grumman picked
be. You
up.
work for them too?
Yeah, I worked for them. Yeah, and then I came back and worked for the Army again. So yeah.
I don't know if you already said, what was the guardrail system?
Oh yeah, should tell you. Guardrail systems are airborne intercept collecting signals, intercepting signals for both the communication side of things and radar signals.
Oh, okay.
So it initially was just communications, but here we went over and we were collecting communications and radar stuff, and on finding it, location. So it had a location capability, very precise location capability to find the bad guys. So
Did it have to use like triangulation or anything?
it had two kinds of direction finding systems on board. One was target location, one very precise, we call it TDOA, time differential of arrival.
Okay.
And the other one was the, like you said, triangulation. And so when the Guardrail system would fly with two airplanes, because in order to do triangulation, you need to let the airplane move, but you need two platforms at least to be able to, and both platforms need to be able to see the target. So when a location or a DF is requested, they both go take it at the same time, and then you use mathematics to figure out where it is. Okay. The TDOA one is a time stamp that to put on it, and so it's really
that's distance, right?
Well, it measures distance too, but it's not too concerned about the distance. It's azimuth, or the bearing to the target from the platform.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So it knows where the platform is precisely. It knows where the target is. It doesn't know, but it knows where the signal's coming from. So when you shoot the bearing, both bearings at the same time, then does a collect on it, and it does. We do several of those, and it just figures out where the target is.
Oh, okay.
And what it does is it gets a rough location of the target, and it feeds the targeting system, and says, "Hey, here's where you want to start." So this TDOA system starts its calculations, if you will, based on where the DOA, direction of arrival system, found. So it's not looking all over the world. It's looking at a
specific region, right?
Yeah. And so, but yeah, and you notice the antennas on the airplane are on there for the direction finding, the collection. So you're listening to it, and then there's a whole bunch of antennas. Let's see if I can show you one. Well, you can see them on here. Yeah. Here's one.
Okay, yeah. For example, that one.
Yeah, it's got lots of antennas. It's got about 75 antennas on there.
Yeah, each plane has like a ton of them.
Yeah. So, and this one is the last one. This is the RC-12X, the Guardrail common sensor, and it is flying today. So it is out in the field.
Okay, that's the most up-to-date one.
Most up-to-date one, yeah. We did about 7 iterations of, major upgrades to the platform, changed the platform sometime to a later version of the Beechcraft, same basic platform. But these guys were out to here. The co-pilot had oxygen. So they were not too comfortable flying, 5 or 6 hours with oxygen.
Yeah.
So we gave them, starting with this one, we gave them commuter birds, beefed up, militarized Beechcrafts were pressurized. So they were kind of VIP planes. So they were hot shots then. They got, and the last
They have to fly really high up.
30,000 feet roughly. 30. Yeah, not that high, but it's high enough for the mission. Yeah, so but then they could see fairly deep. So, and they also needed good airspace, so they were not in hostile air territory or anything. Yeah, this guy is out there today, and is supporting the war in Europe.
It's on. They're using it for Ukraine.
I don't know where they're using it. It's in Europe.
Oh, okay. What is it? NATO?
Yeah, they're part of the NATO. Yeah, so we're in NATO, and but it also has an imagery capability on it. But here's you can see a little bit better shot of one sitting on the ground.
Oh wow, that's a big.
Yeah, so so it's got that's an ELAN antenna. These are communications antennas, special antennas, and all kinds of little porcupines sticking all over.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. So. Okay, and when they fly, I told you they fly at least 2 airplanes at a time. They can fly up to 3 airplanes. And when they take off, it's a communication. There are no operators, just a pilot and co-pilot on board. And so they have a communications link. Each one has its own communications link to the ground, and you can, that's a data link in here. And so that's a comm link from the operators to the airplane. It tunes up the radios and collects stuff, and it comes back over that communications link. Now, if they're all in country in the same general location, country-wise, then the operators would be in country. But now most of the guardrail operators are in CONUS in the U.S. So we have to bring them back over the satellite. So we use them. Yeah. So
everything's interconnected.
Yep. Technology, right? Yep. So the other thing we have is these are UAVs. This is a Predator UAV, and so they're used to a subset of the mission equipment on it. They also can be I'd say militarized, but weaponized, so they can carry missiles if the need. So they may have a mission to do that, or they may just have a communication mission. Yeah. And I don't know if you want this, but I started in 1963. This is one of the first projects I worked on. This is a ground-based communications collection and jamming system.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Is that a UAV? What is?
This one? No, this is a target drone. Doesn't fly, but it's used to
What
put
exactly is a target drone?
Target drones are drones that you fly and collect against, maybe, or some people shoot at them, depending on which.
Okay.
But we didn't do that stuff with the Intel side or the EW side. If the ones that are shooting at them are the artillery guys, not artillery, but the
anti-aircraft.
Yeah, weapon guys. So
I guess that's all.
Okay.
What's all that stuff?
Oh, I didn't tell you. Okay, this stuff is miscellaneous stuff that we have around. This one is cute. This one has Russian. This is a Russian. I think we believe a Russian-made radio, and it probably works. That's what they tell us. But this has Russian labeling on it, but the dials and things have French writing. So it probably a Russian radio made for the French, or somebody had it. So they relabeled some of the stuff on there so that they could understand what those dials were doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay. One real interesting one. This is a jammer. Okay.
Oh, that's a jammer?
Yeah, that's a jammer. This jammer was developed to support bombing missions. And what it would do is that it's an expendable jammer, and they would throw them out, hundreds of them out, to jam the communications and stuff so that the bomber would, let's say the enemy wouldn't be able to shoot down or detect what they were up to. I mean, they knew that something was going on, and so they only last. These things only what 5 or 10 minutes, but it was long enough to get in and get out.
Oh,
So
okay.
okay, so yeah, so it's a